Okay, this is the PISIS Action Tracking and Management System. It's called ATMS, and it's a web-based tool that allows you to create and track and manage, report on actions wherever they originate within your organization. What we're looking at just now is a Internet Explorer browser window, and we're going to log in as a user and take you through some of the basic functionality of the system. So now we've logged in, we can see a number of different fields and filters, and the main thing we're looking at here is a grid, and what this grid contains are actions which relate to me. They require my attention. I've selected that by ticking this box up here, require my attention, and we can set that box to be the default behavior of the system. The fundamental thing we wanted to achieve here was that, you know, there are hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of actions in an organization, and we wanted to be sure that when you log in, you really can focus very clearly on the things that relate to you. Now, that's not to say that other things aren't important and can't be visible, because they can be, but for me, the way I'm working just now, I want to only see the things that apply to me. But basically, I've got a range of actions there. Some of these actions are things that I need to do, so they've been assigned to me by someone else. Some of them are actions for which I'm part of the review process. Now, ATMS allows you to create an action, assign it to someone, and then have up to 4 reviewers. Each reviewer can approve or reject the action, and that's selectable on a project-by-project basis. And we'll talk about how ATMS structures actions in a minute, but it's very, very flexible. You can have one person reviewing the action, or you can have, as I say, up to 4. And you probably use 4 reviewers if you're in a HAZOP type environment. But we'll create an action and we'll look at how that works. So a couple of fields here, there's a little red star there, so that means I have to select a project. And let's say we're going to do we're doing some front-end engineering, so we're going to pick up ATMS 08 feed. And you notice that there are a whole list of projects there. The ones with a dash before them are sub-projects. So for example, there we've got AAA and then AAA HAZOP 1. So HAZOP 1 there is a sub-project of project AAA. And ATMS allows you to structure projects and sub-projects like that. And for each project or sub-project, you can vary the way that actions are reviewed. So like I said before, you could have a simple, say, an office audit, and only require 1 approver of actions, but for something like a feed or a HAZOP, you might want to have 4 people reviewing it. So it's very flexible, and all these projects and sub-projects coexist, and we can restrict access to them on an individual basis or on a company basis, so that you can have everything in one place, but you can ensure that only the people that need to see them can see them. So we're going to put a summary of the action. This is what we want to be done. Let's say we're going to collate drawings, and we want this to be high priority because we're waiting on these drawings. We want Peter Henderson to do it, and we want it to be done by the end of October 2011. So that's basic information. If I wanted to, I could attach some files to help Peter to do that. For example, I could perhaps attach a safety case, or I could attach a drawing, a PDF file, absolutely anything. It's not a document management system per se, but it really helps to make sure that the people that are doing the actions have all the information they need in one place. We'll go further into detail on how this box works as we go through the life cycle of this action, because what I'm going to do now is send it to Peter, and I'm going to do that by simply saving the action. And what's going to happen there is that Peter's going to get an email. It's going to contain a summary of the action. It's going to say who raised it. It's going to say this is what we have to do. But it's really an invitation to Peter to go and open his ATMS and look at the action and to complete it, to close it off. So if I close this action, send email, ATMS will close the action, it will send an email, and I will now log out and log in as Peter, and we'll see okay, so I've logged in as Peter, and you can see that the action that we just created there is visible to him. I open it, and he's got something to do there. He's got to collate drawings. Okay, so he can get all the information he needs about the action. If there were attachments there, there's a project details tab that you can pick up the details of the project, and that's got a ATMS feed overview. That's just a document that's been attached to the project, so that everyone who's doing actions or closing actions in the project has got access to this information. And these files are stored centrally in the ATMS database. Now what Peter can do is he can go and undertake whatever task he needs to perform to close this action, and when he's done it, he can just make a comment in the box, action response, drawings collated, and basically did a wee typo there, and then he can say he's completed the action, tick the box. And what's going to happen there is, if we look at these other fields, we've got creator, Craig Buchan, send for action to Peter, that's Peter who's doing it, and then we've got various people reviewing it. We've got Craig Buchan is reviewer 1, reviewer 2, Bruce Skinner, and there's a couple of other people involved. Mr. Staple and Arthur Jones there is the final approver. So we've got the full complement of reviewers here. It's quite an important project, and we've got 4 people signing off on it. When it gets as far as Arthur Jones, Arthur will be able to finally approve it, and at that point the action will be closed. But we're not at that stage yet. Let's just save the action, and we've been here before, but we'll send the email. And what's happened there is that it's disappeared from Peter's screen, because Peter can't do anything more to it. It's gone back to be reviewed. So I won't go through the whole cycle here, because I'm sure you get the idea, but I'll log back in as Craig, and we'll look at what's happened to that action. See. Okay, Craig has logged in as himself there, and again this action is now back in his court. Collate drawings. Now it looks like Peter's done that work, and it's up to Craig then to decide whether the work's been done to his satisfaction. Let's see if there's anything attached there. Peter hasn't done anything there, no, and yeah, okay, so Craig can go and take whatever external measures he needs to verify that, but when he's finished doing that, he can either approve it or reject it. Now these are new options, because the action's now underway. It's been processed by Peter, and Craig can either choose to approve it, in which case it will go to the next reviewer, who's Bruce there, or he can reject it. Now if he rejects it, Peter will get an email telling him it's been rejected, and if Craig wants to make a comment about that, let's say there's something Craig's not happy with, there's an audit section in the action. The audit section will pick up any changes, and it'll pick up the life cycle and the history, if you like, of the action as it moves from being open to being closed. And it's a great audit tool, because it's doing 2 things. It's tracking changes to the action, and it's also allowing people like Craig, who are reviewers, to make notes, and that the notes appear in a kind of contextual timeline within the action. So let's say drawing 112 not in file, please locate. So he hasn't really collated the drawings, he's missed one out. And let's go back to basics now and say, right, there's one drawing missing, let's reject it, and he's going to save that now, and Peter's going to get an email, and you can see the body of this email is building up as the action moves through the organisation. I'll talk about some of these other email windows in a minute, and again, it's disappeared there from Craig's action list. Let's log in again as P. Henderson, and just for completeness, there we go, collate drawings. Peter's had an email from Craig already. He can check the audit trail and he can see the history of the action. He can see that Craig rejected it and he's got to do something about that. Let's say drawing 1, 2 located and filed. So he's done that and he's now saying it is complete and saves the action. Now, I mentioned these additional fields in the email. You could have stakeholders, you could have customers or third parties who are interested in the progress of the action. They don't have to have any access to ATMS. What we're saying here is that you can have other people who will be copied on the emails that are exchanged between the parties, the action parties in ATMS. So you can add people to this list, you can add additional text to the email, so you can keep people informed. And the body of the email actually comprises quite a detailed list or a history, if you like, of what is in the action. So if you've got a client who doesn't need to have access to ATMS, you don't necessarily want them logging in and using the system like that, but you don't mind them having emails, it's quite good just to keep them in the loop. And okay, so we're now going to send that back to Craig. It's gone, and we will quickly log back in again. And here we go, collate drawings, and yeah, drawings located and filed. He's happy, and let's just say he's happy with that. Craig's happy. It's now going to go into Bruce Skinner, and the process will continue. Bruce or any of the other people in the action review chain can do the same. They can either approve it or reject it. When it gets to Arthur Jones, who's the final approver, the action will be closed if he approves it. If he rejects it, it'll go back to Peter for review and amendment. So I'm just going to close that window, and we haven't sent an email notification. I wanted to talk a little bit more about these filters. You've got we've done the basic workflow of how an action is created and how it moves from being open to being closed. These filters are quite interesting. I talked at the beginning about this require my attention button. If I uncheck that box, I will see every action in the system there. So it's quite useful, and it means that you don't necessarily have to use that all the time, but if you're interested in looking at everything, even things that don't involve you, then you can. Now there's a caveat to that, and that's the fact that you can be excluded from certain projects. It just so happens that this individual, Craig, he's got a kind of access all areas authorization, so he can see all the projects in the system. These pull down lists are a way of quickly selecting projects and sub-projects to look at, and we've already seen this action here, collate drawings, and we've got another one, assemble review team documents. We can filter on the action status, the various statuses that the actions have. There's nothing that's open, they're all in play or closed, all these actions. And we can also filter on things like priority and category, and we can look at those further down the line. We could look at everything, for example, that Peter's got to do, and you can drill down in quite a detailed way to identify perhaps bottlenecks and things there. And scroll all the way across, we can see there's quite a lot of information on the screen. Should also say at this stage, and we'll have a quick look at this in a minute, but the system is almost entirely customizable. So we see things like, let's have a look at an action. We see things like words like action response and action summary, and words like reviewer 1 and approver. All those labels are completely configurable because we appreciate that people have got different names for things and different ways of referring to things. So we're completely flexible in the way that these things are represented and managed. So I'm gonna log in as an administrator now, and just quickly show you how we can modify those. And so let's say we wanted to change the name action summary to something else. Let's say we wanted to simply say we want to call it a summary. I just change the name there. I can use this facility to also create new fields. So if there's a piece of information you can't capture using the out-of-the-box ATMS, it's very, very easy to create your own field to hold just about any kind of information you want. You can create drop-down lists, checkboxes, all kinds of things. But at the moment, all we've done here is we've changed a field to say summary instead of action summary. It's just a demonstration, really, to show that it's very, very easy to do. Also wanted to quickly show you the reports that are available. I mean, one of the main reporting tools, if you like, is simply to use the front screen, because you can create filters and all sorts of things from here. It's a bit like using Excel, and you can also do free text searches and access information like that. Well, if you remember, we had a problem with a drawing there, so it was drawing 112. Let's say we wanted to find all actions that contain the text 112, and there you go, collate drawings. If you remember, that was the one that was a problem. Drawing 112 wasn't in the file. There you go. So very, very quick way of searching. I'll just clear that search as well. And you can, I've said before, you can drop down projects. You can see all the actions relating to projects. You can also export anything you're looking at on the screen to Excel. So if you need to get this data out of ATMS into a local spreadsheet for whatever reason, you might be doing off-site, so you might be requiring a bit more manipulation, a bit more reporting, or you want to put it into another system, anything you like, you can quickly export it into Excel. You can also import actions. If you're, for example, we quite often get people who do HAZOPs off-site, and they produce a CSV file with all the actions relating to the HAZOP in there, and we can quickly import them, or in fact you can do it yourself. You don't need us to do it. There's an import facility. But looking at the reports, we've got some quite useful reports there. Select report by type. Let's look at outstanding actions. This is the most popular one, and it's basically showing you the projects and who's got what actions. These numbers at the end there are actually unique system IDs that the system generates, so you can go straight to these actions, and you can use this for whatever you like. This is what we're looking at here, is actually a PDF file, so you can print it, you can print it out, you can save it, you can do anything you like with it. Let's look at another one. Overdue actions graphing. Again, just a quick way of looking at how many actions you've got in various categories. And action summary by status. Again, where your actions are in their life cycle, if you like. There's also a fairly sophisticated custom reporting tool, if you can't get the information you need out of the basic reports or the built-in views that ATMS gives you, you can use the custom reporting tool. I don't propose to go into that in any detail, but it gives you, if you've heard of things like crystal reports and tools like that kind of sit on top of a database, you'll get the idea of what it is. It's got basic query functionality, and it will let you create some fairly sophisticated reports for your own purposes. That's the basics of ATMS. I quickly looked at the admin side of things, and for example, you'll have seen action priority there. These are completely configurable again. Let's say I created one called ultra high. Let's just say that's just very high, for example. And it was really just as a way of demonstrating that we can do that. If you wanted to, that's a kind of muddy brown colour. Let's say I wasn't delighted with that colour. I want it to be, I don't know, blue, for example. I can change the colour codes as well. So I can change things and I can categorise things for my own purposes. And really ATMS is a very light tool. It's very, very quick to use. It doesn't require that much training. I talked before about how projects and sub-projects are set up, and let's look at this one. So this is the one we were using, ATMS feed, and you can see there that we've got the name of the project, we've got all the people who we'd assigned as reviewers, and there's a little bit of detail there as well. We had a feed overview there, which is a project, which is an attachment on the project. We can manage those from here as well, so we can add as many of those as we like. But the really interesting bit of this is project visibility, because you can assign various companies who have visibility, and obviously if you've got contractors, subcontractors on a project, you need them to be able to see the actions that they're being assigned. However, a consequence of that could be that you might have a large subcontractor, and you might only really need one or two individuals from that subcontractor to be able to see that particular project. So let's look at a scenario where you've got contractor A, say, working very heavily with hundreds of staff on one project, but in another part of your business you're only using one or two people, and you don't want the whole of that contractor business to be able to see everything that you're doing in this other little project that you've got running. So you can select people on a per name, a per individual basis to be able to see particular projects. So it's very, very granular, if you like, in the way that you can assign access permission. And those individuals will have, they will still be working, they will still be considered to be working for their parent company, if you like, but they're kind of by proxy part of your project team, and no one else from their business, their company, will be able to look at the projects that you exclude them from. So again, very, very flexible like that. Because ATMS is hosted, it's a web-based system. The other thing we find is where you've got multiple stakeholders, it's very, very easy for them to get involved, because you don't have any real networking problems. As long as they've got access to the internet, they should be able to access ATMS. And that's one of the things we find a lot, where you've got subcontractors, and also you can have very geographically diverse teams. We've got clients all over the world who can collaborate on managing actions to close out. So really, from that point of view, we found that it's proved to be an extremely effective tool. Okay, that's the basic functionality of ATMS. You'll have seen that there's quite a lot there. I don't want to go into too much more detail. What I suggest is that you contact us for more information, but we're very, very happy to go into this in more detail. Any part of the system you don't completely understand, and we can do web demos and what have you, and explain whatever else you need. And we're also very, very happy to set you up with a demonstration system, which is a live working system, and it'll let you play with some of the things that perhaps you're unsure about. And we've got a very good team in Aberdeen, and we'll be able to take you through any of the queries you have. Thanks very much.